What's up, my wizards? It's Deb from Mtg, Me Gusta Los Magicos. Today I got the chicken with me, aka Waverly, but I don't think we've called her by her real name in like 6 months. She is simply Chicken, and she's very cute, and you hardly ever get to see her, and she's like the prettiest cat in the house, so I'm glad she's here. But anyway, what are we talking about? Let's get back to the intro that I sort of soft wrote for this. Are you sick of Standard, and have you already gotten all the enjoyment out of Theros Beyond Death that you're going to get? I think we all have, so... If you're a little bit tired of the Standard environment, have I got a thing for you? Because Ikoria is going to be coming out before too long now. We're getting into spoiler season in just a couple of weeks and all that. So let's go ahead and get the hype train started. It seems to be all anybody wants to talk about right now anyway, so we might as well get some views. So today we're going to talk about everything that we know currently about Ikoria.
And I'm your favorite magic channel's favorite magic channel. Best believe that the professor go bananas for my deck techs. I come correct like a porn star, slicing up all these other suckers with my sword mark.
And we're back. Hey, remember to do the liking and subscribing. It helps. But I'm not going to spend too much time on calls to action in this video because I've actually got kind of a lot of subject matter to cover. Oh, you going to leave, Waverly? That's fine. I love you. No, you just be your own. You be your own person. Anyway, apparently I have time to waste messing around with the cat, but not time to do a call to action. But I think you'd probably rather me waste time on the cat than telling you to do stuff you probably won't do anyways. But anyway, I can't waste too much time because I've actually got kind of a lot to talk about in this video. We know more about the set than you might think initially, even though Wizards has been like fairly hush-hush about Ikoria up to this point. We actually do have a fair amount of like real hard data, things that we actually know and don't have to speculate on too much. So I'm going to try to cover all of that information in this video. Now, first of all, I want to start with some important dates that you might want to go ahead and put in your calendar there. The first of which is March the 26th. This is probably the most important date as of the time of writing this video because that's the date we're going to get our very first spoilers for Ikoria. Now, that's a Thursday, so fair warning, if it works like pretty much every preview season since I've been covering previews on YouTube, which is 5 freaking years. That's a long time. But if it's just like literally every other preview season, we'll get those spoilers on Thursday, and then preview season will really start in earnest on the following Monday. That's how they usually do this. We might get some more spoilers that trickle out over the weekend, but usually the way this works is that the following Monday, spoiler season really truly starts. But the first spoilers that we will see are March 26th, but I'd keep my eye towards March the 30th to get some real meat out of this preview season for the first time. Now, the next most important date to remember is probably April the 16th, because that is when the set drops in full on Arena. The set will be completely spoiled by then, so that fits the basic 2-week time frame that most preview seasons are contained within. So remember, the day after tax day here in the States, you can go ahead and start playing some Ikoria on Arena because the full set will have dropped. Now, the next day, April the 17th and through the 19th will be pre-release weekend, and then April 24th, the set will officially drop in cardboard. A quick and very important footnote about pre-release weekend this time around is that Wizards has already released a statement regarding the ongoing C-19, the Commander 19 outbreak that's happening in the world. I can't say the actual name of the thing because YouTube has been demonetizing people who say the actual name of the thing, but you know what I'm talking about. The thing the entire world is going through at the moment. Wizards has released a statement saying that you don't actually have to participate in your in-store pre-release event, but you can still go to your LGS, pick up your pre-release pack, and then go home, and there will be at-home pre-release events for you to participate in if you so desire. So keep that in mind. But on to the actual like meat and potatoes of this video watching experience that we're all in together here. What do we know to be known about Ikoria without having to do any speculating, although fair warning. I'll be doing a smidge of speculating towards the end of the video, but I'm mostly going to be talking about what is known to be known about this set. So I'm using a lot of data from Wizards site itself, plus the Wizards Play Network, and occasionally I'll be sprinkling in quotes from Mark Rosewater himself, who is lead design on this set, as he is on so many. But sometimes you can't take Rosewater's word as gospel because he tries to throw out red herrings. He speaks in riddles occasionally. Like, he's not always the most straightforward source of information, but sometimes he does actually answer questions in a straightforward way. So there's going to be a couple times where I can actually quote Mark and get real information out of him in this video. Now, one of the first things that we learned about Ikoria from a sort of design philosophy standpoint is that it was designed from the bottom up. I'm not going to spend too much time discussing the differences between top-down and bottom-up design, but there's a really easy way to distinguish between the two of them. Bottom-up sets are usually designed around a specific mechanic, and then top-down sets are usually the sets that are cribbed from some sort of real-world example. Things like Theros, for instance, it's based on Greek mythology, so they wanted to use that theme, and then they designed the mechanics of the set around that theme. Same thing with Amonkhet, cribbed from Egyptian, theology and culture and whatnot, and traditions. So that one, they designed the flavor of the set for top-down design, and then they designed the mechanics around it. For bottom-up, they designed the mechanics first, and then they build the world around it. And that's what they've done with Ikoria. Now, what do we actually know about the mechanics in this set? Well, we actually know a good little bit. For example, we already know that the mutate keyword is going to be in this set. This was first spotted in Unsanctioned on Surgeon General Commander right here, which is a cool card and works pretty well with augment creatures and whatnot, but it also works with mutatable creatures. Now, Mark Rosewater has already said that when they were designing Surgeon General Commander, they wanted another ability besides the first two on the card to really stretch the playability of Surgeon General Commander, and it hit him that they had an ability. This is straight from the horse's mouth here. Rosewater says that they already had an ability similar to Host and Augment in an upcoming set, Ikoria, and that was the Mutate keyword ability. So we know that Mutate is in some way similar to Host and Augment. Adding just a little bit to what we know about this mechanic was the fact that briefly on Wizards Play Network, there was product information for the Ikoria pre-release pack, which at the time, it's since been removed, and the speculation is that this was put up too early in the product cycle. But before it was removed, the product information said that the pre-release pack for Ikoria contained a set of double-sided keyword counters. That's interesting. Now, coupled with the fact that the very same WPN page that has that product information on it says that Ikoria is a set where you can build your own monster, that has led a ton of people to wildly speculate about exactly what this ability is. And I guess we got to the speculation a little bit earlier than I thought we were going to. I said it was going to be the end of the video, but I guess it's kind of the middle of the video, but whatever. I think the most sane of this speculation is simply that the mutate mechanic is going to let you put keyword abilities onto your creatures that don't already have them. And a good kind of support for this is a card that actually popped up in the mystery boosters that were going around the conventions that people were drafting with a couple of months ago. Recyclabird. Again, this is where the speculation starts to get a little bit wild, but I think that, this is the sanest of all the speculation I've heard about the mutate mechanic. And that it's basically similar to what this does. You put, keyword counters on your creatures when certain things happen, and there's a lot of play that can be done with that mechanic. But again, I don't want to speculate too crazily. I want to mostly talk about what we know about this set, but you can't do that without talking about the fact that we know that you can build your own monsters. We know that there are double-sided keyword counters in the set, so things are really leaning towards the idea that the mutate mechanic is just a way to give your creatures keyword abilities they didn't already have. Which sounds pretty simple, but it might not actually be that simple at the end, because another quote straight from Mark Rosewater is that Mutate is apparently the most ambitious mechanic that we've seen in years. Now, we don't know that he was particularly specifically talking about Mutate. He may be talking about another mechanic in the set, but he specifically says you'll be able to build your own monsters. There's that phrase again. He uses it. It appears in the Wizards Play Network product information again, so they're really hitting that phrase, build your own monsters, with the most ambitious mechanic we've seen in years. And we've seen some pretty ambitious mechanics in the last few years, so I won't die on the hill that, this will be a mechanic as simple as creatures without flying get to have flying counters put on them. It's probably way more complicated than that if it's a truly ambitious mechanic. By the way, from that very same blog post where Mark Rosewater says all the stuff I just quoted him saying, he also uses the phrase Monster World. It's Monster World. So we're hearing a lot of talk about monster. Build your own monster. It's Monster World, a world of beasts and monsters. So they're really, again, that's something else that they're hitting every time they get a chance to. So looks like thematically we'll be seeing a set based around huge beasts and monsters. It doesn't seem like that's wild speculation or anything, but if you wanted a little bit more proof of that besides just like the language Wizards is using to describe the set, then here's some art. Perfect example of what we can expect from the set for a few reasons. First of all, big old nasty beastie boy featured prominently in the art, but if you look closely, you'll see that right in front of him, or her, who knows, is Vivian Reed. So we know for a fact Vivian Reed's showing up. But if you look a little bit more closely at this artwork, you'll see what appear to be perhaps pterodactyls there on the left, so there may be some dinosaurs in this set, or those could just be monsters that have been given wings through the mutate mechanic. Note how many of them there are on the left, but there's also a dragon up there flying around. On the right, there's a grounded monster that nonetheless has wings, and most of these monsters with wings they all look like monsters that shouldn't normally have wings. So I think we're getting a sort of, sneak peek, an artistic representation of the mutate mechanic on some of the animals in this artwork. But this is a very important artwork to study. There's more going on than just the life beings, the living creatures on this artwork too, because if you look a little bit more closely, you may notice all these purple energy crystal looking things in the artwork. I have no idea what those are supposed to be, but they do add another wrinkle to what's going on in this world. Now, while I've still got this artwork up here on the screen, let me talk about Vivian again for just a moment, because not only do we know Vivian's going to be in the set, because there she is, but there's another post on Blogatog from Mark Rosewater where somebody asks him straight up, will we get a new Planeswalker in this set? He says, yes, there is a new Planeswalker in this set along with a couple you already know. So Vivian is obviously one of the ones we already know, but it's good to know that we're also definitely getting a new Planeswalker, and Vivian won't be the only Planeswalker we already know who shows up on Ikoria. Alright, so that about does it in terms of themes and flavors and mechanics and what we know to be true about this set in those terms, but there's one more thing that I want to talk about before we wrap it up for this video, and that is the sort of tie-in that they're doing with the Commander product this time around. Because we're going to get 5 different Commander decks released concurrently on release day, April 24th, along with the main Ikoria set. Now, this can get a little bit confusing, so try to bear with me. I'm going to read straight from the wiki entry for Ikoria here while I'm talking about this Commander product. Now, for this set, Planeswalker decks are discontinued. They are replaced by 5 Commander decks. Then in parentheses, Ikoria Commander. This is essentially Commander 2020 aligning with Ikoria Lair of Behemoths. The 71 new cards in the decks are set on the world of Ikoria, but the reprints can be from anywhere. There are a handful of cards from the main Ikoria set in these decks in the reprint slots, but the number is fairly small. The cards are only legal in Eternal formats like Legacy, Vintage, and Pauper. They have their own expansion symbol and set code, C20, to set them apart. Now, I had to read that last excerpt like 3 times before I no longer had any questions about it, but I'm kind of a dum-dum. So if you're also kind of a dum-dum, let me talk a little bit about what we've just read there. Now, again, reiterating here, this will replace Planeswalker decks. Instead of Planeswalker decks, we're getting 5 Commander decks, all set on the plane of Ikoria, but not all of the cards are standard legal. If cards are printed both in the main Ikoria set and the Commander decks that we're getting, then yes, you can play those cards in standard, they're standard legal. But if they're not printed in the main Ikoria sets, and they're only printed into the Commander release, then those are not standard legal. You can only play them in Commander, Vintage, Legacy, and Pauper. Now that said, again, a little bit of reiterating to be done here. There are going to be 71 new Commander cards that you can play in all of those formats. There's probably going to be some really cool stuff in there as well. So, and it will be releasing concurrently with the tabletop cardboard release of Ikoria. So on April 24th, we'll not only get, the actual main Ikoria set, but we'll get these 5 Commander decks as well. Actually, there is one more thing to cover on the Commander front before we close the door on that part of the video, and that is that Wizards is going to be starting a weekly event series called Commander Nights, and I assume it's going to be somewhat similar to F&M. We already know there's going to be a prize structure in these weekly events. They start on April the 27th, and they go through June the 18th. So keep that in mind, kind of a weekly Commander event series with prize support at your LGS, which is a pretty cool idea. Now, aside from that, just a couple of quick odds and ends to clear up here. First of all, there will be an ebook for Ikoria. There wasn't an ebook for Theros, and people were like, oh, my story, but you don't have to worry about that. You will be able to get an ebook for Ikoria, so that's kind of nice. Apart from that, you'll also get a box topper with you when you buy a booster box of the set. It's been a while since we've seen a box topper, and this one does look freaking enormous, but that's cool to bring back box toppers. I want to point that out, too, before we packed it in for the day. But let's finish it up here with a quick recap of the real pertinent information in this video, starting with the dates. March 26th, you'll get your very first spoilers, and then the set will release on April the 24th. So kind of a 1 month window there, but aside from that, we know that this is going to be a Timmy set with big monsters and, you know, being able to build your own monster, Simic style. I really get a Simic vibe from the build your own monster tagline, but keep that in mind and internalize that. Also remember that we have Mutate in this set, but we don't quite know what it is, although we have a pretty good idea of what it is. Aside from that, we know that Vivian's going to be there along with a couple of other people that we already know and a brand new Planeswalker that we don't quite know yet. There's also weird energy crystals. Covered that too, but we have no idea what that's about yet. But that's more or less all of the hard information without having to really speculate too much on this set. But don't you worry, I will be doing some speculating before it's all over, but I had to go ahead and get this video out because, I mean, it's only like 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, until we start getting spoilers for this. I think we're like 10 days out as I release this video from spoiler season. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel because we always cover all the spoilers, and it's like the most fun that I ever get to have. I love spoiler season. It's a tiring affair, but and everyone knows, like, by the end of spoiler season, it can sometimes get entertaining just to see like how ground into dust I am from the schedule of spoiler season. But it's a wild ride, and I truly love doing it. So make sure you subscribe to the channel for when spoiler season hits. We got a few things to cover in Standard before it's all over here for Theros Beyond Death Standard. Got to kick out the final tier list, nail that down this week. Again, make sure you're subbed for that. Like the video if you enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm more or less done. We're sponsored by TCG Player if you want to check them out. I'll leave a link in the description. But I mean, aside from that, I'm pretty much done. So let me know how you feel about all the information we know so far. If you have any crazy speculation or even tame speculation, put it down there in the comments section. Let's put our head together and see what we think this set's going to be all about and what we want from this set too. Let me know down there in the comments section. And before too long, I'll be back with a video about all the cards and reprints and stuff that I want in this set. Don't worry, I will. But anyway, that's all I got for this one. So I guess I'll catch you cats later. I've been Dev from The Place. Thanks for watching, my wizards. Spread love and be kind.